Hello and welcome to my channel. This is the second in my 2017 Halloween card series. This card design will feature watercoloring and embossing. I'm going to show you the clear embossing over black technique in this video. I also have some die cuts which I have used to put the words up, and I have used watercolor pencils to generate this watercolor look, but you can use whatever watercolor media you have. One thing I'd like to mention, at first, this is the second attempt for this. The first one I did, I embossed it and then I put in the watercolors, and I was unhappy with going over the ridges for the embossed way with the pencil. So I decided to try it again and lay down the colors first and then emboss it to see how it worked, and it worked just great. So I'm going to show you how to do it that way, but if you were using a watercolor media like paint brushes or something, you probably wouldn't run into that problem that I did. Let me clear this away and show you how I made this card. I noticed that the colors are not showing up so vibrantly on the intro, so I wanted to give you an opportunity to get a better look at the colors. This little shadow I'm dealing with is really making it hard. I'm hoping that Santa will bring me some proper lighting for my videos so that I can do a better job with the lighting issue. Okay, so let me show you what I used to make this card. I'm going to be mass producing this card. I'm going to do 4 at once. The secret of mass producing is to have everything you need ready to go in an assembly line fashion, and then you just step through each step one at a time. So I have 4 card bases, which are cut 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have 4 pieces of watercolor paper. This is Bristol smooth color paper, which is cut 5 by 3 3/4. I have 4 black mats of cardstock, which is 5 1/4 by 4, and 4 panels of white cardstock, which is also cut 5 1/4 by 4. The stamps that I'm using today is Stampin Up Mingle all the way. So I'm going to be using this stamp here, and Gorgeous Grunge, also by Stampin Up. The stamp that I use, this is one large stamp, and this was by Stampendous, and it was called Haunted Hill. I'm also going to be using a Stampin Up die cut seasonal frame Thinlits for the word spooky. I'll be using clear embossing powder, and since I'm going to be embossing, of course I need to use my embossing buddy. And the inks I'm using today is Versafine Onyx Black, Memento London Fog, Memento Bamboo Leaves, and also Memento Paris Dusk. These are for the inside of the card. I'm also going to be using Versamark Watermark pad. Okay, and I have numerous watercolor pencils in many colors. You can use whatever colors that you felt contributed to the scene that you're painting, but I'm not even going to list all these colors down below, which I usually do because there are just so many colors here, because I really wanted to give a lot of interest to the sky here. So I have a lot of purples and reds and oranges, but that's your own personal taste on that. All right, let me clear this away and I will start into showing you how to do this technique. Before I go any further, I want to re-ink my ink pad, and I want to quickly show you how to do that. I have the re-inker for the Versafine, and this is the same technique that you use for any ink pad. You just take a, I lost the thing. You take the re-inker and you just run it along, squeezing a little bit. There's a lot of inker in these bottles, so be generous. So you go over the ink pad really generously, and as you see, it just soaks right in. And what I usually do is I just take the tip of the bottle and help it go in. You could also use a Q-tip or paper towel or something to help it in. But it goes very quickly. Okay, there. So I'm going to clean the tip up because I don't want to make a huge mess when I close the bottle back. Now I have had this re-inker for years, and I have re-inked it every couple of months, and I still have plenty in that bottle. Okay. All right. Now, let me close it up for now. The first thing I want to show you is how to get the panel done. So I have already put my stamp in place, and I'm using the Misty Creative Corners. This is a very strong magnet. Let's see if I can pick it up. Come on, you. It knows we're live. So if you were wondering how strong that magnet is, there you are. So this is the Creative Corners for the Misty tool, and this allows you to, because when you put the paper in, you need to go flush with the corner to ensure that your paper doesn't move. But sometimes your stamp overlaps a little bit and you don't want to go over here. So the Creative Corners gives you the ability to come up forward from the corner a little bit and still maintain the edge to line up against it. So I'm using that for this one. And this, I think, is, yeah. So taking the watercolor paper, which is the smaller, and I'm going to double check and make sure that it is in fact lined up as I need it, and it is. I'm going to hold it down straight as I can. Follow the eave here. Good. All right, I can come in a little bit more here. There. Okay. Now, so I'm going to ink this up, stamp it, and then I'm going to do all four, and then I'm going to let it dry briefly, and then I'm going to start putting the watercolor pencil in. And this is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm just going to let this part run. I'm not going to spend too much time with it. Oh, I should say, if you were going to do the clear over emboss technique, you could just take the black ink, put it on your paper, and then immediately dip this into the clear embossing powder, and it will stick to the wet ink on the paper, and then emboss it, and then go ahead and do your watercoloring. But I'm going to do this differently, as I mentioned. So now that I have inked it up, I have a really good imprint because there's a lot of ink on the pad now. Okay, and it's still a little wet, so you have to be careful not to smudge it. Set that aside and get the next one. Now I'm going to clean this off now because I really don't want the ink to soak down into that too much, because I'm going to need to stamp on this again, and I don't want to transfer all that black ink. But I also don't want it to move, so I have to be careful. Okay, set this aside for now, and let's see, this is the one I did first. I'm bringing my colors. Now I'm going to show you one on camera, and then I'm going to go and do all the other colorings quickly. So with watercolor pencils, you put down the color where you need it, and you blend it on the card, and then you come along with the water pen and you blend the colors. So I'm going to start with the browns here. try to get them in some kind of order here. That is a purple, that is not a brown. Okay, you start with the lightest color. And this is what I'm going to do for the walkway. When I did this, the embossing, the pencil was just going all over it, chicka, 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 and that was really annoying. So if you do it that other way, you will see what I'm talking about. Besides, I didn't feel like I was getting good coverage that way. So now I'll take the next darker brown and come out and go right over that, starting from one side and coming out a ways to blend those colors out. And also from the other side, so that there's a light area in the center. Now taking the darkest brown, go over that area again, adding highlights and shadows. Okay, so I'm going to do the rest of the card using the colors in the same way that I just showed. Okay, that is the coloring of one of them. Get that shadow out the way. So it looks very streaky now, but it'll be fine once the water comes in. So I'm going to quickly go and color the others. Okay, now I have laid down the colors. Oh, I forgot the blue for the clouds. Now I need to take and put it back into the Misty and put the Versamark over the black so that I can emboss it. Let me finish this up real quick. And it looks a little bit messy, but the water, once it goes down, will blend out the colors and it will smooth it all out. And this was a lot of watercoloring, and my hand started cramping up pretty badly because I was trying to go quickly. But hopefully you won't have that problem. Okay, just set this aside, and then Misty. And I cleaned this before, so now I need to be sure to get it in here straight so that the impression will be over the existing black. So all over with the Versamark, and I probably should have re-inked this also. Okay. And I should have had this open too. Okay, you can't see it, but it laid a layer right over the existing image. And make sure you get it all off. Okay, I didn't do that one, but for the next one I am going to go all over it with my embossing tool to make sure that it's not going to stick anywhere except where I want it to stick. It shouldn't, but just to be sure, I'm going to do it this way. And it is going all over the place. Sorry about that.
Twas the night before Spookness, and all through the house all the creatures were stirring. They let them all out. The cobwebs were all hanging from the ceiling for a scare. This night of all nights, little children should beware. I, with my machete, just as sharp as a tack, ready for demons to give them away. When dawn cometh near, they will all disappear. Then live 11 more months with nothing to fear.
Okay, that's all done. See, this one I just did last, so I'll start off with the other. Now I need my water pen and a paper towel. So starting with the lighter area, the lighter areas, I'm going to blend the color out. I have to be careful with the moon because I don't want to inadvertently get the blue to blend into the moon, because then I'll have green and that's not good. So I'll just go through and do all of them. And when you're blending the colors, you want to make sure that you don't work on two wet areas side by side, because then the colors could flow into each other. So you want to skip around a bit. Okay, and that is that. So the streaks, you could go over it again if you wanted it to be a little bit smoother, but I think it adds to the effect. So we'll let these dry a bit, and then I'll move on to the rest of the card. Okay, the next thing I need to do is get the die cuts for the front of the card. So I'm going to use the matte and die cut the black spooky out of each of the 4 pieces. I could get more than one piece on one, but I'll just keep it simple and do one out of it, one out of each. And I also have some white scrap, so I can get a white one also. So I'm going to go off camera and do this with my die cut machine, and I'll be right back. Okay, now I have all of my cutouts. And you cut out from the mat, and then you can save yourself a little paper. So this will be completely covered by the panel, so it won't show. All right. What I need to do now is take one of the black spookies, and I need my pokey tool because I have a little bit of paper stuck in the letter. Poke that out. There. I'll take the black and glue it down to the white, with allowing a little bit to overlap to make a little bit of a drop shadow. And from this point on, it's just simple card assembly, so I'm going to just let the music run and assemble the card. And I'm using my multimedia mat for this gluing because it won't show. All right, that's the finished card. It went together very easily. My fingers are really crampy now because this was a lot of watercoloring, but I'm happy with how it came out. If you felt that you'd rather have the white on the black rather than the black on the white, you could always swap that around for this. I also put a little bit of Spectrum Noir Sparkle Pen on the moon to make it stand out a little bit. So this is the second card for 2017. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get my numbers up, and I'm going to list all of the materials that I use down below in the comments section. But as I mentioned, I'm not going to list all of these different colors. You can use whatever colors that you felt brought out the scene the way you wanted it to. And if you didn't want to use watercolor pencils, you could use other watercolor media. Thanks for watching and have a happy Halloween. Take care.